Part 2. Get your worth. Don't wait for permission. But this payment goes well beyond my generosity, the monk responded. Don't say that again, said the alchemist. Life may be listening and give you less next time. Paulo Coehlo, The Alchemist. We are magicians. Our best work is creating something out of nothing. It is all binary. It doesn't matter if you are a writer, rearranging the same words that have existed well before your grandmother's grandmother was born, or an architect turning scribbles written down from your mind's eye into a physical space, or a priest literally calling upon the heavens which no living man has ever set foot in. Our best work is always invisible, as even the most physical acts have an alchemy that happens behind the scenes, a chemical reaction that happens within you, transforming what once was into what was never before. This is yours and yours alone, and this is yours to keep. The challenge happens when we measure our work based on society's standards instead of actual impact. For instance, a Mason would be one of the most revered, well-paid people in our community in the 19th century, fashioning the bricks building our homes, kilning the shoes carrying the horses we ride, and finishing the weapons protecting our lives from harm. Today, Masons are respected, but they aren't deemed as important to the general public. They are not as valued. Computer-aided design, smart cars, and equally smart weapons have taken over their role. Now take this idea to the small scale. Bring this paradigm to what you believe in. Pursuing something because it's the hot thing today makes sense in the short term. You aren't terribly interested, and you may even hate it, but you know that's what sells, and that's what the market seems to demand. Worse, you may get your first paycheck for it, and you can mistake something as a calling because someone is willing to pay you for it. The problem is twofold. First, if you're jumping on the bandwagon, the other people will be or more likely already are getting into the same competitive space. That's the very definition of a bandwagon. You're almost certainly going to lose. Second, and most importantly, you're creating something that is unsustainable both externally and internally. You're doing something that you don't really care about, and you're doing something that, almost inevitably, the market will stop monetarily valuing. You get the worst of both worlds on that very thing you care most about. People who give a shit about your thing will recognize your craftsmanship, or your dedication, or your commitment, and will reward you with their attention. Attention, not money, is the most powerful currency one can give you, as money is renewable, but time is not. And once the sun shines on your particular craft, then you'll rise like cream to the top. As much as we're obsessed with science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM, today, just as we were focused on web developers at the turn of the millennium and on Wall Street whiz kids 2 decades before that. The biggest influencers of every era blaze brightly based on those proverbial 10,000 hours of study. And that doesn't happen and can't happen because the market is interested in what they care about. They have to proceed well before the market approves what they value. They cannot wait for the world's seal of approval. Unmistakable author Srinivas Rao compares businesses to surfing. When you are looking for a wave to ride, you don't go after the beautiful, fully formed ones. They are in the distance. Remember, you have to recognize opportunity, direct your board, and create momentum to head there. By the time you get there, the wave will crash, likely on top of you. If you see the white caps, though, where new waves are forming, you can start heading in that direction based on instinct. It isn't obvious. It is likely only seen by you, based on your own viewpoint, experience, and eyesight. The wave is yours and yours alone, and as it crests, you ride it as if you own it because you do. Others may view you as an overnight success, as a visionary, or as a lucky bastard. You just got quiet enough to pay attention to your own voice. And no matter how they feel, they will happily pay you what your insight is worth. But first, you have to know yourself what it is worth. There is always an intention tax. Are you willing to face your issues to move forward? In Paulo Coelho's The Alchemist, the hero's mentor says he needs a tenth of his sheep to help him on his journey. The shepherd spends a pensive evening thinking about the request, and suddenly realizes that a tenth of his current livelihood is worth fulfilling his destiny. The mentor, adorned in a gold breastplate, says that he didn't really need the sheep. He needed to make sure that the hero was committed to the journey. Not that the mentor knew he was serious, but that the hero himself knew he was serious. When a family member or friend lends you money or other resources, the first question from them is not, "When will you get it back to me?" Even the bank doesn't ask you this first. The first question is always, "What are you going to do with it?" The universe is the same way. It wants you to commit, then it will open up the doors. You can fill out the forms, you can say how much you want it, and you can sit in bitterness because you don't have it, whether it's $1 million in the bank, the right job, or fabulous fame. But without knowing how you're going to use it, knowing your why, then the chances of it arriving are as slim as a toothpick. It is intention, not desire, that puts the wheels in motion. I don't like owing people. It's like a nervous tick that bypasses my thoughts, an automatic reaction. I chose to be an independent creative, and we always owe someone. This is a personal dilemma. We owe our family and friends the time they gave us to work on our craft, and that is time we didn't spend with them. We owe financial commitments, particularly when we first start out, as others have to have flexibility as we discover how to bring in income, and that journey is often an infinite one. We owe ourselves the indebtedness of the aforementioned time, the opportunity cost of stability, and the weight of believing our trek is worthwhile to ourselves, which is why, if we don't understand why we do what we do, then that weight becomes guilt or shame or hopelessness. We owe, we owe, we owe. So when I have had lean times, usually marked by a pivot to another world, the investment of, say, previous capital to new ventures, working hard at an old discipline to help fund the new discipline I care about more while phasing it out and seeing the old money come less and less while the new money hasn't quite come yet, then I see myself facing my fear, asking for support. Could I get latitude on this bill? How can we barter for this necessity? What ways can we get this commitment down to something more manageable? It feels like drowning. And then I make the first step for support. Then the second. I begin breathing. I realize my ability to function independently is directly tied to my perception of self-worth. I'm afraid admitting things are not going how I expected, that I have been hit with the unexpected, that my master plan needs deviation, makes me less of who I am. The cycle of independence and dependence, the wheel of fortune on which we all ride, brings me closer to acceptance. It's like coming up for air. The lungs get bigger over time. It stops feeling like drowning. And when the current does change again, you'll be prepared. I ask, how would it feel if that lost check arrived, or if that delinquent client suddenly direct deposited my money? I'd feel a sense of release, as if the birds began singing and everything, and I mean everything, was suddenly right in the world. But real pain doesn't shut off that quickly. It lingers and leaves slowly, like a swelling going down. That's when I know it's not real pain, but circumstantial pain. It is temporary. That's when I know I'll get through it fine. And a year from now, I will not remember the circumstances of this all-consuming moment, if I remembered it at all. I know I was in a financial bind exactly a year ago. I couldn't tell you its face, nevertheless its name. The opposite is true too. Just like the blurry, scary faces in a nightmare, our own desires remain ethereal until we pin them down. The worst thing you can do is say, "If I had $1 million." It points to two negatives. First, a lack of gratitude for the resources you currently have, the very resources fortified with luck and grace that brought you to this point to even have this moment of thought. You aren't maximizing what you've got now because you don't even consider your current resources worthy of your attention. It's smacking the universe in the face. Second, you don't achieve your goals with round numbers. To paraphrase the late motivational speaker Jim Rohn, how can you handle $1 million if you don't know what happened to the $5 in your pocket? You need specifics to do great works. If you're going to be rich, then what is your definition of rich? If you need money to get your idea started, then how much do you need? And more importantly, where will each resource go? It is the exact same thing with time, as if you need time to create, then how exactly will you use that time? My turning point came reading Mike Michalowicz's Profit First. He recommends independents and small business owners put their money into buckets, the same classic grandmotherly concept of putting cash into different envelopes or coffee cans. You get a check and it's automatically split into the predetermined groups. As independent creatives, you may get a big check today and not get another one for weeks, if not months, and may have a completely different pattern next year, so creating your own system is crucial. It's worth reading this for the discussion alone. But what if you applied the same principle to all your resources? Where did the time go? It's just as deadly to your career as if I had $1 million. I don't know where your time went. It was your time. Those specifics become your currency, not only to yourself, but to others too. Those specifics become your currency, not only to yourself, but to others too. Venture capitalist Arlen Hamilton says she's more likely to trust a single mom with her investment money, as a woman would be adept to maximizing her resources every day. This is the key. You can charge what you want if you make sure that your customer, the investor, the buyer, the public, whomever, knows that you will give them many times the value. The only way is to know what you're going to do with extra resources you desire. Sit down and figure out what you need to achieve. How much that certification costs? What time would it take to learn how to code? Where are your potential customers, and what would it require to meet them? Write it all down. We usually don't need $1 million, nor do we need a week of solitude to get stuff done. We usually just need a few $100 and 30 minutes a day for the next week. This is both inspiring and terrifying, as you'll realize you already have everything you need, and the real blocker challenge isn't in your resources, but in your mind. The people you owe are not your adversaries. They give you the privilege to do what you want to do. The car note, the credit card bill, the grocery budget. The Soul of Money author Lynn Twist recommends putting "thank you" on all the notes sections of your checks, giving the universe a humble nod for allowing you the opportunity to have the thing you are paying for. If you resent paying for and having the responsibility of an economy car and a low-rent apartment, then how can you set yourself up for something more? You can't. You want protection from that resentment, that pain, and in doing so you block out everything. You're trapping yourself in a cycle. For when you ask for money, price your products, or ask for what you charge for your special gift, then you're going to undercut yourself to stay safe from that resentment, that pain, that burden of living at a higher level than you do now. You decide what you're worth based on how you accept things as they are now. It doesn't mean you have to be happy with where you are now. It is appreciating what you have within the context of your current life. This isn't a nicety or a treatise on gratitude or thankfulness. You resent people not paying top dollar for your work, setting the expectation that everyone will pay up to this much for your type of work. So when you are setting your price, being asked what something is worth, or sitting at the negotiation table, you are less likely to give a number reflective of what you could and should be getting, and more likely to acquiesce when someone gives you a lowball number because, in your mind, that is just what people do. The only thing you can change, the only thing you need to change, is what you do. The people around you, everything around you, will respond accordingly. Your worth is like a star. The stars you see in the sky tonight are based on light that's taken a long time to travel. So long, in fact, that some of the stars that you see in the sky have actually burnt out, collapsed, and died years ago. What you're witnessing is an afterglow, the last gasping shadow of a structure. What you are witnessing is the past. So if you act accordingly to what you see at the moment, then you are building your life based on signals that are no longer accurate. It also means new, budding structures growing just outside of your point of view will be decorating your future, but they are happening on a level you can't just see yet. It could be a new client who has been quietly watching you and thinks you can handle a serious job for a serious budget. It could be a great opportunity at the true stature of what you can contribute to the world. It could be a dynamite partner worthy of your current and future potential. And like an external star, bound by the properties of astronomy, your opportunities will react to you based on the bounds of your own internal belief system. A new to you client offers a budget 10 times what you're currently getting, but you offer your services at a fraction of the price and worth based on your own past beliefs. A giant opportunity rolls right up to your doorstep, but you go for the small ideas instead because it enables you to stay comfortable. A collaborator creates a rare chance for you to be pushed, challenged, and motivated to be a better creator, yet you suddenly find many reasons not to move forward. Your reasoning may be sound, maybe even right, but they are right based on the wrong system. They are based on what was, not on what is. They are based on the past. It is us looking intensely at the night sky, searing the visual into our brains, and making decisions based on our old view without ever looking up at the sky again. To move forward, to move closer to your greatness, you simply need to stop for a moment, take a breath, and look at where you truly are. In this case, your potential new opportunities, outside partnerships, and self-generated ideas are your constellations. People cannot help you on your journey when you don't communicate what you desire and what you deserve. If you're not honest about what you really want, you can't help you on your own journey either. What you owe then isn't money, time, or sacrifice, but to turn what has been given into something greater in the world, like alchemy. It is replacing weight with levity. Weight is the burden, the pressure, and the fear of what lies ahead based on what has happened before. Levity is taking the reality seriously and making the best decision at the moment. One paralyzes you, one enables you. Honor your beautiful commitments, and they are all beautiful. They are your stake in the ground, your anchor of certainty on which you build your life. They are to be adorned like tapestries and obelisks on which you fashion your foundation. If you listen, they bring jewels and surprises every single day. The circumstances delivering you pain will eventually recede, through time, or through tolerance, or through insight, but the wisdom gained will remain, glistening on the shore like seashells. The pain will go away. Do not be angry at the circumstances, or at the situations, or at the luck. You cannot be angry at a particular moment in your life without being ungrateful for the riches it gave you. One cannot exist without the other. They are one and the same. The Greek and Chinese words for chaos are virtually synonymous with another term, opportunity. We can make the most progress when things are uprooted and previous boundaries blur. It just doesn't feel like it. Our perceived loss requires us to reach higher than before. We now have no past to defend. The dying are often grateful and thankful for the experience of dying. They suddenly have a clarity of purpose and firmness of priorities elusive to us during our regular lives. Why? It's not from being afraid or delusional, but being grateful for having life in the first place. I had an unexpected bout with cancer in my early 30s, and, in short order, my perspective changed, just as it did a few years later finding out I was going to become a father. They are the same experience, realizing everything is finite. What is forever? Love is forever. Knowledge is forever. Your tough time is not forever. Your wisdom will be, if you choose to take it. Trust the wheel of fortune, for it is what brought you here. The chess pieces are exactly where they are supposed to be. You would never say that a game was unfair, that it robbed you. You would never throw the game away, flipping the board and starting over again. You would never say that it, or you, were broken. Players do their best when they trust where things lay. Time management expert and longtime jogger Laura Vanderkam says she has no problem committing to running every single day when she stopped asking if she was going to run today, but when she was going to run today. Same with your life. Throwing fists at the walls of unfairness is a full-time job better spent working within your circumstances, rules, and boundaries in your given life. You're able to soar because only then you can maximize the resources you have available by having appreciation and gratitude for what you have at hand. Ironically, you have to create love, acceptance, and reverence for where you are now to change your situation. Lynn Twist put it well. When we let go of the chase for more and consciously examine and experience the resources we already have, we discover our resources are deeper than we knew or imagined. In the nourishment of our attention, our assets expand and grow. The trick is to fully participate in your life, even when your life isn't where you want it to be. It is to be fully present when you don't want to show up that day. It is to be here.